Some stories are meant to be forgotten, but what happens when they refuse to stay buried? Tonight, we dive into 4 terrifying tales. An abandoned asylum where something still lingers. A cursed mirror hiding a sinister secret. A smiling man who only appears at 3:33 a.m. And a game so dangerous, it plays you. Stay with me, if you dare. For decades, the Blackwood Asylum stood as a forgotten relic, a crumbling monument to suffering. It was shut down in the 1950s after reports of inhumane treatments, mysterious disappearances, and patients claiming they were haunted by something far worse than their own madness. Over time, the town forgot about it, until a group of thrill-seekers decided to explore the ruins for their YouTube channel. Among them was James, a paranormal investigator with a reputation for debunking ghost stories. With cameras rolling, they stepped inside, the air thick with decay and something else. They found rusted wheelchairs, shattered glass, and peeling walls covered in cryptic messages scrawled by desperate hands. But the deeper they went, the more the atmosphere shifted. Then the whispers began. At first, they thought it was the wind, but the voices grew clearer, calling out their names, pleading for help. The team's bravado turned to fear as they heard footsteps echoing down the halls. Footsteps that didn't belong to them. James, the skeptic, pushed ahead. His camera caught a glimpse of something unnatural, a figure in a straitjacket, staring directly at him with hollow eyes. Panic set in. The team tried to run, but the doors slammed shut behind them. The shadows seemed to move, twisting and distorting. Their flashlights flickered, revealing glimpses of figures lining the walls. Figures that hadn't been there before. Then a scream. One of their own vanished before their eyes. Only 2 made it out, their footage corrupted beyond recognition. When James returned days later with a search team, there was no sign of their missing friend. But in the asylum's lobby, carved into the floor, were fresh words that sent chills down his spine. "You shouldn't have come." The woman in the mirror. Late one night, Emma moved into a new apartment, a deal too good to pass up. The place was fully furnished, but there was one thing she didn't like: an old, dusty mirror nailed into the wall. When she tried to take it down, she found a note wedged behind it that read, "Do not remove. Do not look too long." At first, she thought it was a prank from the previous tenant. But that night, as she passed by the mirror, she noticed something strange. Her reflection wasn't perfectly in sync. When she lifted her hand, her reflection hesitated. She dismissed it as exhaustion, but as days passed, the anomalies grew worse. Sometimes her reflection would smile when she wasn't smiling. Sometimes it would linger after she had turned away. Then, one night, she woke up to soft scratching noises coming from the mirror. Terrified, she grabbed a blanket to cover it. But as she did, her reflection whispered, "Don't you want to trade places?" Emma screamed, stumbling backward. The whisper turned into laughter. Desperate, she researched the apartment's history and discovered something horrifying. The previous tenant had disappeared without a trace. The only clue left behind? A dusty mirror just like hers. Without hesitation, Emma moved out the next day. The mirror remained, waiting for the next tenant. The smiling man in the dark. David had always been a night owl, staying up late watching TV in his small apartment. But one night, at exactly 3:33 a.m., his TV flickered, and the screen went black. In the reflection, he saw something standing behind his couch. A man. But this wasn't a normal man. He was unnaturally tall, dressed in a tattered suit, his head tilted at an unnatural angle, and he was grinning. A wide, stretched-out grin that didn't belong on a human face. David spun around, but nothing was there. Just an empty room. Shaken, he turned the TV off and went to bed. But the next night, it happened again. This time, the man was closer. By the third night, David refused to turn on the TV. But at 3:33 a.m., he heard slow, deliberate footsteps outside his bedroom door. Holding his breath, he stayed still, hoping it was just his imagination. But then, in the darkness, he heard it breathing. Low, ragged, close. When he finally got the courage to turn on the light, the room was empty. But his mirror was fogged up, as if someone had been breathing against it. And in the condensation, written in long, bony streaks, were the words, "I like watching you." The unfinished game. It started as an innocent dare, an old urban legend about a cursed online game that no one had ever completed. A group of friends stumbled upon a hidden forum where people shared their experiences playing the unfinished game. The rules were simple. Start the game at midnight. Do not exit before completing the final level. Do not turn off your device no matter what. At first, it seemed like any other horror game, low graphics, eerie music, unsettling choices. But then, the game started mimicking real life. It asked for their names, their locations. Their screens glitched, displaying eerie messages like, "I see you," and "Don't turn around." One player, Mark, laughed it off until his phone started ringing. An unknown number. He answered, and a voice whispered his name. Then the game changed. Instead of a character on the screen, Mark saw his own bedroom. The game had become a live feed, and in the corner of the screen, barely visible, was a shadowy figure standing behind him. The power cut out. The screen went black. The next day, Mark was missing. His laptop was found open, the game still running. On the screen, the final message read, "Congratulations, you're next." Final thoughts. Each of these stories can be expanded with eerie sound design, suspenseful pauses, and visual effects to enhance the horror. A 20-minute YouTube video could include dramatic storytelling, subtle background music, and disturbing imagery to maximize viewer engagement.